here right now. All right, what's up, everybody? It's your host, Alex Saul. I'm super excited to talk to everybody and really get everybody on track so that they can launch their very own business. Okay, so many of you out there are probably going back to work, doing a 9 to 5. The week's about to begin. You're going to do the same old thing over and over and over again. And no matter what you do, at the end of the day, you're going to be getting someone else rich instead of actually working to actually grow your own portfolio and do well for both, you and your family. And one of the ways that you can really get ahead is by starting your own business. And a lot of people, they want to come up with this amazing idea about how they're going to make a $1 million business, but most important thing is you just got to get started, right? We just got to hit the ground and make sure we have some few basic fundamentals put together, and we're going to be in good shape. So when you are starting a business and you've made that decision, you're going to do this, right? So the first thing that you want to do is you need to actually form your LLC. Now look, there are, and I say LLC, I'm just going to go ahead and write down on the board right here. Now look, there are multiple kinds of entities, right? So you got an LLC, which stands for limited liability, okay? There's also a C Corp. And then lastly, we have an S Corp. Now, one of the common misconceptions that people have is they think that an S Corp is a different kind of entity than a C Corp or LLC. So S Corp is actually just a tax designation. So you can actually have your C Corp filing as an S Corp, and you have an LLC filing as an S Corp. What a C Corp is for a business that has multiple owners in it, and it's going to dish out shares. So there's going to be share of ownership. Now look, technically with the LLC, you can have multiple owners in here as well. But I think really what I'm trying to say to everybody is that let's not overcomplicate this whole thing, right? We can talk about, is the C Corp the right thing to do? Or what's this S Corp thing or all that? Look, you're just going to have to just trust me. Just get an LLC set up. That's all you got to do. Get an LLC. It's a limited liability. It's going to protect you. And it's also going to make sure that you look professional. So over here on the screen, you can see I have this site up, which is Zen Business. Now look, this is not sponsored by Zen Business, but Zen Business is a really easy site to actually set up your LLC. Super simple. You just need to come up with a name. Now the thing is look, every single state in America has different regulations on how you actually have to form your LLC and what kind of info you have to have. But the benefit of using a company like a Zen Business, and there's other ones out there, it really doesn't matter, is that they have all the regulations for every single state built into the site. So whether you're filing out of, California or New York or Texas, it doesn't matter. They've got you covered. And some of the states are they're a little bit outdated. And so look, yeah, technically you could go to the Secretary of State website and fill out the information there, but really I'd rather just go right to a site like this. Now look, there is a small fee. It's gonna be like $50 to use their services, but it's well worth it to make sure that you get the stuff done right, okay? So when you are forming an LLC, you do wanna come up with a name that is gonna be relevant to what you're doing. Now, we're talking about getting you set up with an Amazon business, right? So we really want to make sure that you have a name that is going to make you sound like you are someone in a business that should be taken seriously. So you don't want to have something which is, necessarily something that says, something online or something e-commerce. You really want to make sure that the naming convention sounds like you are a supplier of goods that other businesses should take seriously, because as you go down the line and you're going to start negotiating with suppliers and negotiating with distributors, you really want to make sure that that name sounds legit, okay? Now, the LLC, once you have that set up, again, it probably should take like, it could be as fast as a week if you expedite it, but worst case, it should take about 30 days if everything goes really, really slow. I mean, they're gonna ask you some questions in here, which are, how many members are gonna be in the LLC? You can just say you. It's just, you don't necessarily need to figure out if you're gonna have employees, right? So it's gonna be one member if you don't have any partners. And then as far as the employees go, just be, you. And other than that, they're gonna ask you some other questions like, are you selling, tobacco or firearms or, alcohol? Now look, if you're doing an Amazon business, you cannot sell any of that stuff. So you can just go ahead and answer no to all of that. When you're going through any of these sites, like a Zen business, let's say, they are gonna ask you like, would you like to get a website, or do you want to set up a bank account and all this stuff, right? That stuff is just an upsell. You really don't need that. Just fill out the basic information. Make sure that you enter in all the address information correctly, your name, contact info, all the above. Now, when it comes to the address info, technically, it really doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you could use your home address as the address, and that's fine. There are things called a virtual address if you want to have your business address separate from what your actual home address is. And there's some advantage to that, because basically you won't have a bunch of business, mail and letters showing up to your house. And also, if there is some important mail, if you use a virtual service, they're making sure that they open all that stuff and get you the information, on time. But as far as for someone just starting out, I would say, look, you can probably just use your home address to get the thing started, and you're gonna be fine with that. Now, the LLC is somewhat meaningless until you go ahead and you get your EIN, okay? So this is your federal designator for doing taxes for your business, okay? So until you have that, now look, you can get that done through Zen Business. You can also go right to the irs.gov and fill it out that way too. It's pretty simple. But until the EIN is set, your business isn't really real. Okay, so we got to get the EIN, and once you have this done, and this should spit out within literally, you can get it done within 24 hours, sometimes even faster. Once you have the EIN and the LLC, you're officially formed, and you have a business, and you're good to go. One other thing that just kind of caught my, just tripped up on my mind that I figured I would, tell people about is that, look, there are some different states which have advantages of, why you might want to form in those states over another state. So Wyoming is a non-disclosure state. Also, Delaware is a non-disclosure state. And some of the advantages of forming in a Wyoming or forming in a Delaware is that those states are not going to disclose information about you or your business to the public. And for privacy, there's definitely some advantages of doing that. Another thing about Delaware is that Delaware doesn't actually have any sales tax, which is a huge advantage. And there are other states that don't have sales tax. And another example is Oregon does not have sales tax. So when you're purchasing, you can purchase from basically anywhere and not pay sales tax. So there is some advantages of filing out of a Delaware or filing out of a Wyoming for privacy reasons. And that's just another thing to just keep in mind as you're doing this. But again, for a beginner, totally fine to just get formed in your home state and just use your home address, and you'll be good. Okay, cool. So once you have the LLC formed and you got the EIN letter, you're Gucci. You're ready to roll here. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to get to business and get a bank account set up. We want to start doing some big things over here, right? So next step is going to be doing the business bank account. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that real quick. So I'm just going to say bank. Okay. This is where the fun begins here, right? Once we get the bank account set up, okay? So you're gonna print out your articles of organization, literally print it out on a piece of paper, not a digital copy. You're gonna print out that EIN letter, those 2 pieces of paper, and you're gonna go to the bank, okay? If you use a traditional brick and mortar location, and you are going to set up an appointment so you can set up your business. Typically, you got to set up an appointment. You probably can do it online. You can walk in and set up an appointment, but typically for like a business meeting like that, you can't just walk in and set up an appointment. Maybe if you live in a very small town and have a very, small, homey, bank or whatever, maybe they'll just let you in and set it up, but it's pretty rare. So you're gonna have to actually set up an appointment, and they're gonna ask you some things about your business. What is it that your business does, right? Now look, if you're doing Amazon, and what we do, right, is that Amazon Wholesale. So you can just tell the banker that you are selling like very basic home general goods. That's it. That's really all they need to know. And you are going to be buying these products, and then you are going to be selling them. And you can tell them that you're going to be selling them on Amazon. Getting the bank account set up, I mean, literally you can get it set up same day. So now you've really got everything. You've got, the LLC set up, you got the EIN, and now you have a bank account. I mean, you're really ready to rock and roll at this point. You're really ready to get started and really do some business here, okay? Now, there are many different banks that you can go to. I personally recommend go to Chase. They should sponsor me at this point for how much I recommend them. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw this on here real quick. I'm gonna say this right here. Go to Chase. Now look, I'm just gonna say something about kind of general stuff. I don't know who the CEO is of Wells Fargo. I don't know who the CEO is of Bank of America, but Jamie Dimon is the CEO of Chase, and that dude is super smart. He's like one of the smartest business people of the last decade. In any event, this bank is super business friendly, okay? So they're gonna get you everything you need to get your business off the ground. This kind of leads me to my next point, which is I want to talk a little bit about business credit, okay? So let's go ahead and let's dive in and let's talk about business credit and how it's such a big advantage for your business using OPM, other people's money, okay? So let's talk about that. I'm gonna go ahead and just write business credit on here. So credit, okay, now, for some people, credit is a scary word, is a very scary word, because when you are talking about personal credit, that is something that is really frowned upon, right? So as an individual, and you have credit cards in your wallet that you're using, right? Whether you're using them to pay for gas or groceries or, getting credit to buy a car or whatever. Typically, any debt that you have with credit on a personal basis is bad debt. Meaning that, like, if you buy a car on credit, you're getting a depreciating asset. That's not gonna make you money. You're not making any money off that. You're losing. It is what it is, okay? But business credit is totally different. So you are actually gonna use this credit right here so that you can buy products, in this case, right, because we're doing Amazon, where you can buy products at a low price and sell them for a high price and make money. So you're actually using it to acquire these assets, which are going to reap you a reward and make you some profit. That is the benefit of business credit. Now, the other thing is that people really need to understand is that traditionally with personal credit, we're talking about a 30-day cycle for these cards, okay? That's not a lot of time. So, if you're talking about, charging something, personally, and then you're gonna get a paycheck in 2 weeks to pay down that card, okay, cool, that's fine, right? But when you're buying goods, especially that you're going to sell on Amazon, you need to have more time than that, right? Because the time window goes something like you're going to buy some products. The products have to get shipped from the supplier over to, the warehouse. They got to get prepped. They got to get packed. They got to get sent into Amazon. Amazon's got to check it in, and it's got to get available for sale. And that process could take 30 days alone by itself. And your credit card payment's due. What you gonna do? You're gonna be in trouble. It's not gonna be good, right? So I wanna talk about something real quick, which is 0% APR. Okay, business funding. What does 0% APR mean? It means there's no interest. It's essentially free money. So you are able to get through a variety of sources, which I'll talk about a little bit more. You are able to get credit cards that will give you at least 12 months of no interest. Not 18% interest, not 28% interest, zero interest, okay? Now, for a brand new person with a brand new business, you would really be surprised that it is very, very easy for you to get 0% APR business funding and get credit established immediately. The thing is that most people don't know anything about this stuff. They don't know what business credit even is. And another thing to mention is that business credit does not affect your personal credit. So with your personal credit, if you were to, let's say, take out, you get a card that has a 20K limit on it and you swipe that thing for 20K, well, that's what that's going to do is that's going to take your utilization sky high, and that's going to take your FICO down to the floor. That's not going to be good. Okay, so basically you don't want to use more than about 20% of your overall utilization for your personal credit. I mean, this is not this teaching, course going on right now is really not meant to be talking about, your personal credit. But basically for your personal credit, if you had, let's say, access to 100K in credit, you would not want to use more than 20K of it at a time across all of the different cards that you have, because otherwise it makes you look like you're a credit risk to not actually pay the stuff back, okay? But this is the thing. With business credit, they want you to take that money out. They want you to use it because it's not bad debt. You're going to be using it for something that is actually going to make you money. So meaning that you can swipe that card for 20K and it's not going to affect your personal credit whatsoever. It's totally separate. Your business credit is through that LLC and that EIN. That's the point. That's why you set it up. So now you actually have this living, breathing being, which is this LLC. This is your business, okay? And you can actually get money right away. So this is something where you don't want to delay on this. Literally, like you're about to wake up, you're about to go back to that job, about to live in this, perpetual cycle that's not going anywhere. Whereas literally by doing a few simple steps, you can have an entity set up and actually have basically free money literally within a matter of a few weeks, okay? Now, about the 0% funding, just something to understand, okay? It does not, even though you have 0% APR for 12 months, it does not mean that you can, charge $20,000 and then go buy products with it and then go pay it off a year from now. That's not what that means, okay? So there are going to be minimum payments on this. The minimum payment, it's a complex calculation and it varies depending on which credit card supplier you have, whether it's like an Amex or Visa, etc. But typically, these cards with even at 20K, the minimum payment can literally be like a few $100. It can range from like $300 a month to $700 a month. So I mean, I think that's a great trade-off, right? You could use your own cash if you want to start, getting set up and getting the business running, or well, you can go ahead and get yourself some 0% APR credit cards and you can use the bank's money to fund your dream. Now, one thing to know about this is that you you do have to have strong credit to get approved for the 0%, okay? So you need to check out what your FICO is, all right? So look, if you want to get approved for business credit, the bare minimum is going to be 650. That's going to be bare minimum, all right? I mean, look, there's probably some sources that you can go to where you can have lower than a 650 FICO, but 650 is really the bare minimum to just get any credit at all, okay? Now, if you want to have a really strong case to get 0%, then you need to have 680 plus, okay? Now, one thing that I will say is that as far as like building up your personal credit, that's definitely something that you want to do, and that's a whole other, topic, but it's super, super important, right? So right now, if you are launching a business and you have a bunch of, debt out there, like, a bunch of credit card debt and stuff like that, you got to pay that down. You got to get that down, okay? So a few factors that, go into what is the FICO score is going to be DTI, which is your debt to income ratio, and also how many credit lines that you have, okay? So say credit lines. Okay, so look, if you just went out and bought a couple of BMWs, well, you gotta expect that your FICO has just dropped significantly, okay? Because a few things. One is you got hard inquiries on your credit score from the various credit bureaus like Experian, Equifax, etc. And number two is your debt to your income ratio. The debt part went way up, right? So if you're looking to start a business, don't go out and buy some BMWs right before you start that business, okay? That's really the lesson, okay? Or a boat, okay? All right. Now credit lines. The thing is that your credit profile actually is based on how many different sources of credit you have access to. So if you have no credit cards, then you don't have any credit history. But if you have one credit card, I mean, that's a good start, right? But you actually want to have a few of these. Now, again, I could get into some really advanced stuff, and we could talk about buying trade lines and things like that on how to actually, expand your credit lines and all these things. And I'm happy to go into that, in detail in another session here. But really, my main point is, look, if you have been paying off your credit cards, generally speaking, on time, and you haven't made any really significant payments, you haven't bought any, significant purchases recently, and you have a 680 plus FICO, you're going to be in really good shape to actually get approved for that 0% APR business funding, okay? And that is a great way to start your business out, okay? We got LLC set up, we got the EIN, we got the business bank account. Now we have, some of the fundamentals on how to get set up with business credit. It's like, this is the real deal at this point, right? Like we're really ready to be taken seriously. We have all the documents. We got funding. I mean, damn, we're really on the move here. We're doing really, really good, okay? Now, one other thing I want to talk about, okay, is I want to talk about a little bit about taxes. This is not like me being a CPA and giving you recommendations on how to do your taxes, but I want to talk about, something that's important for any business, any Amazon business that is, where you are going to be buying products and reselling them. So we need to talk about getting you tax exempt. Now look, I talked to you about, if you're out of Delaware, if you're out of Oregon, I think even Montana, there's no sales tax in those states, so you wouldn't need to worry about tax exemption. But if you're in any of the other states, then you are going to need to get tax exempt, okay? So you need to get a resale certificate. It depends which state you're in. They can call this something different. They might call it like a certificate of sales and use tax. But at the end of the day, it's all the same thing, okay? Now, you probably ask yourself, what is this, okay? So this is a certificate that says that you have the right to buy products and resell them and not pay tax when you buy those products. So if somebody work at like big corporations that buy products on a regular basis, those corporations, when they buy B2B, business to business, they don't pay any tax on that, right? So the American economy, we want to incentivize, we want to encourage businesses to, buy from one another, right? Well, that wouldn't really be too good if they're getting hit with tax every time that they go to buy something, right? They're going to be kind of discouraged to do that, right? So once you get set up with having a resale certificate or the sales and use tax, then you can buy, no matter what state you're in, okay? You could be in Florida, you could be in Texas, you could be in Colorado, and you can buy products without paying any sales